As someone who thinks about climate change every day, I think about war quite a lot. Now, in a scenario where climate change gets really bad, I don't think the end result is that we somehow allow ourselves to slowly let the water overtake our cities or for our cities to burn. The thing I'm worried about is that we're going to blow each other up before the world becomes unlivable. And that's because when the climate changes and places become more and more uninhabitable or food systems start to collapse, we're going to start seeing a lot more conflict where those resources are being fought over. And you're going to see a lot of climate migration. So you may have heard me say before that my definition of us solving climate change is where people can stay and live where they were born and continue to live a full life and a happy life wherever they are. And that's because when we don't solve climate change or when it gets worse, we're going to see a lot more resources become scarce and people having to move. And you have this sort of cycle where if there's war, that also forces people to move, and war creates more emissions, more conflict, more environmental damage, and it creates a cycle where that will feed into more climate change, which will, back and forth. I think this is why, to me, the original environmental movement is inherently an anti-war movement. I haven't talked about this for a while because, the human cost of war is enough reason for us to not be continuing to hurt each other. It feels kind of trite in some ways to talk about climate change when we're talking about human lives, innocent civilians. But as we're on the cusp of something that could be monumentally different in terms of the level of warfare, it is important for me to say something. Now, we can look at a couple of stats. And the first thing I'm going to say is that militaries around the world release somewhere around 5.5% of global emissions. And that would put militaries, if it was a country, as somewhere in the fourth or fifth highest emitters. America's military is the single largest institutional carbon emitter in the world. And lastly, I'll leave you with a chart because I love charts. This is the global CO2 concentrations over time since the Industrial Revolution. So the number to remember is that around 350 parts per million of CO2 is kind of where we want to be. Right now, we're about 410. After both World War I and World War II, we were still under 320 ppm. We can't afford another global war.